You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. So, I actually do like LSU in this ballgame as well. I look at Arkansas, and I know I've joked throughout the course of the season and called them the Arkan frauds.
Yeah, you hate Arkansas.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. For what Sam Pittman has done there, it really is pretty magnificent. I mean, that's a team that went essentially 3 years without winning an SEC game. And the fact that he managed to win 3 of them last year in that COVID season was awesome. It was remarkable. And then to turn around this year and have that team bowl eligible the first week in November and a chance to build even more and improve their stead, it's super admirable. He has done a very, very strong job there turning that thing around in a short amount of time. Arkansas comes in as a 2.5-point favorite, but I look at this Arkansas team as, and the reason I joke about the Arkan frauds, I mean, so to give them their due, when they were winning early, I think we just got a misperception of what they actually were. They beat Texas when Texas was ranked 15th in the country. Texas is not very good this year. That's very evident. They beat Texas A&M when Texas A&M had lost their starting quarterback and Zach Calzada couldn't complete a forward pass at that point.
He was bad at that game.
He's very bad. They're a very different team, A&M is now, and I would venture a guess that if those two teams played again, it would not be the same result. They got all the way up to 8th in the country, and they got blown out by Georgia 37-0. No crime. Georgia's great, but that certainly exposed Arkansas as not an elite team. A week later, they lose to Ole Miss 52-51. They allowed 52 points. I mean, they could have easily won that game. Nobody could stop anybody. And they had a 2-point conversion at the end to win it. I love the call from Sam Pittman to go for that too. It just didn't work out for them. They lost that game. Then they went home and played Auburn, and they got skunked. They lost by 15. It was 38-23, and it was never really close. My point is, I think we've looked at this Arkansas team as a team that they beat Pine Bluff, and I think they'll beat Missouri in the regular season finale. But this week they're at LSU, and next week they're at Bama. I think Arkansas is going to lose both those games. And I think they'll beat Missouri and finish 7-5, which will be an amazing bounce back, an amazing step forward for Sam Pittman, who's building a really good program there. They have 2 very good coordinators in Barry Odom and Kendall Briles. And KJ Jefferson, the best thing I could say about him is that he's only turned the ball over 3 times this year. He's limited mistakes. They're just not a dynamic team. Traylon Burks is a fantastic weapon, and LSU's going to have to deal with him on the outside. I'd feel much better about it if you had Ricks and Stingley, but they essentially have a converted tight end at running back. Guy who wasn't playing. They moved him to tight end for like a day, had an injury, moved him back. They just don't have a lot of dynamic players on offense that I think could run up the score, although Kendall Briles is a very good play caller. So I like LSU's defense in this matchup, particularly if they come with the same type of aggressiveness that they did last week against Alabama. The thing I will say that I worry about is LSU this year, their big bugaboo has been the counterpunch. LSU has started every game strong, but whenever the opponent adjusts to whatever LSU is doing, we tend to see LSU not have an answer. That happened in the second half against UCLA, against Mississippi State. I mean, that came down to an onside kick. It shouldn't have. Kentucky ran away and hit from LSU in the second half. Florida scored 4 straight possessions in the second half. That's been a problem. So I think LSU and Arkansas will be in a very close game in the first half. I think how LSU responds to whatever counterpunch that Arkansas throws will really determine what happens in this game. I just like LSU at home. I don't think it's going to be 100,000 people. I think you'll probably have 65,000 people actually in the stands. But those 65,000, I think, are going to be really loud. I mean, the environment, I wasn't obviously there for the Auburn game, but the Florida game at 11 a.m. But the people that were, I mean, say the environment was great. I mean, it was loud in there. The 65,000 that want to be there are making a lot of noise and making it tough on people. So, I do think LSU wins. I think it's like a 31-27 type game, and I think LSU, especially with Cade York, if it comes down to a kick, I just trust that guy to get me points when I need points. And I think that's probably a difference maker in what's a really close game between 2 evenly matched teams, But I do think LSU wins this ball game. And there's a little bit of urgency as well. Understand that they've got to win this game if they want to get to bowl eligibility. You got to win this game. You got to win next week against ULM because I don't think LSU is going to beat Texas A&M in the regular season finale. So I'll take the Tigers. Limit the mistakes in this ball game. I'm very curious to see offensively what they do with Nussmeier and Max Johnson. But in 3 of the last 4 games, we've seen Ty Davis-Price go over 100 yards rushing. They have found their groove. And I understand that Jason Hines and Ed Ingram aren't going to be there, but we've seen Marlon Martinez and Garrett Dellinger play a lot of football already this year. And I feel much better if you have to replace a guard as opposed to if you're replacing one of your tackles. So that's where they struggle whenever they were trying to replace tackles. So I like LSU in this ball game. I think they win a close one.
Ingram and what's his name?
Jason
Hines are both out.
Hines is out for the rest of the year. Ingram got dinged in practice. Ed said it was a head injury, so he'll be out this week, maybe back next week, or for A&M.
I think if you touched on it briefly, but if the defensive scheme remains the same, LSU is going to be in a good spot. Now I do like the quarterback. I do like Arkansas's quarterback. He's a load, tough to deal with.
The thing about defensive scheme that I'll say, one quick follow-up, is when LSU played Florida, they finally got going with the running game by running the counterplay. Mm-hmm. And Ty Davis-Price set a record. Florida couldn't stop it. The next week against Ole Miss, LSU kept trying to do the same thing, but Florida had a week to prepare for it. Kendall Briles has had this whole week to prepare for those odd looks and the stunts that LSU ran. If LSU goes into this game thinking they're going to do the same thing they did against Alabama and have success, they're stupid.
Oh, man.
Because it's not going to work that way.
What we did before wasn't any good.
You're going to have to adjust because you better believe Kendall Briles is going to have a plan for LSU bringing that kind of pressure. But you should have Cordell Flott back this week as well, which gives me a ton of confidence. Because if Flott and McLaughlin are both good to go, I like my 2 outside corners. It's not Ricks and Stingley, but those 2 guys are NFL corners. Mm-hmm. And one of those guys locks down Traylon Burks. I think LSU's got a great chance to win this game. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.